Hello there, and welcome back to Broyhill on Aviation Leadership. We are back into the Leadership Traits series. Again, it's been a little bit of a delay because of other things going on in my life, but today we're going to get to Chapter 12 in the book, or Episode 12 in the series, and that's on the leadership trait of passion, something that's very near and dear to me, and the illustrative anecdote at the end of the episode today will show you why that is. So let's get on with it. According to Merriam-Webster, the definition of passion is an intense, driving, or overmastering feeling of conviction. Can also be a strong liking or desire for or devotion to some activity, object, or concept, which pretty much meshes up with the things we've probably seen in our own lives. But of course, there's more. So if we try to unpack passion a little more deeply, we get some good color as to what passion really means in the life of a leader. Randy Greaser is a CEO, author, and speaker. And he says passion is about vision. It also contains energy, excitement, and enthusiasm. Passion inspires others to join and identify with your vision. No one has ever been inspired by a leader who is not passionate. Passion, and alternatively, the lack of passion, is contagious. If you want to have a passionate, inspired workforce, it begins with you, the leader. Steve Moore, who is the president of a company called Missio Nexus, who does leadership consulting, says, "First, your passion as a leader is the one piece of the self-awareness puzzle that will enable you to focus your energies on the causes that resonate with the core of who you are." Kind of like a confluence there of the center of who we see ourselves as and what we want to pursue. In addition to your personality, natural talents, and gifts, you need to understand and tap into your passions. Second, as a leader, you will need to help others understand their passions so that you can place members of your team in areas of responsibility that contain what I call passionators, intrinsic motivational forces that flow from their inner passion. Now take note of that second quote, because when I relay the anecdote here in a few minutes about that, you'll see how that can come together or not come together. Finally, Dan Wolf, who is one of the business aviation leaders that I interviewed for the book, said something to me that I thought really rang true, and that's why I included it on the slide. He said there's a fine line between passion and emotion from a leadership perspective. Your people will follow the passion, but emotion will turn them against you. And that rings true. Sometimes we can be very passionate about a cause, very passionate about a certain issue, but if we turn that passion into emotion, and yes, I recognize passion is an emotion, but what I'm talking to here is passion is in the form of drive for what we want to try to accomplish. If we get emotional about it, too emotional about it, we can turn the people who are following us, as well as the people that are working with us, against us. It's an important point. And again, keep that in mind, and more to come about just that very subject. The statistics on the trait of passion were interesting. I defined passion on the leadership survey as cares about what we do. The overall mean you can see there was 5.71 on a scale of 1 to 7. The leaders, 5.79, the followers 5.63, and the interesting thing here is the means look different, and guess what? Statistically, they are different. Levine's test for variance showed a significant result with a p-factor of 0.005. So that means the means are statistically different, which means that, with no pun intended, the leaders and the followers are thinking about passion differently. Furthermore, you can see when we asked people to rank the different traits, leaders saw passion as the number 10 attribute, followers saw it as the number 12 attribute, which makes you think. You would think it'd be the other way around. You'd think that you'd want the followers to feel like their leaders are passionate about what they're doing. And the leaders are actually saying, no, we think, internally feeling passionate about what we do is more important than the way the followers view it. So again, interesting perspective. Sometimes statistics can show you some stuff that you might not pick up in other places. The anecdote for where passion is concerned from my career is not a terribly flattering one, as you've probably seen from other episodes that I've had in this series. And I'm not afraid to talk about my faults and the mistakes I've made in the hope that it will influence anybody who sees it to not do the same thing. So here we go. As a former director of aviation, I was very passionate about upset recovery training. Upset recovery training, if you're not familiar, is training for business aviation pilots and airline aviation pilots actually as well, which subjects their aircraft to being in an immediate attitude that is not where the airplane spends most of its time, which is straight and level flight, plus or minus 30 degrees of bank, plus or minus 10 or 15 degrees of pitch. Oftentimes that involves a simulation where the airplane is caught in a wake vortices of a preceding airplane and suddenly flipped or turned sideways. Other times it can involve control issues, flight control malfunctions vis-a-vis the Air France 447 incident that happened many years ago. So I wanted my pilots, when I was running an aviation department, to have upset recovery training. I vetted several different providers. The best one I found was out in California, and if you want that information, feel free to send me an email. Happy to refer you to them because they still are, in my opinion, the best in the business. So now the syllabus for this upset recovery training was very aggressive. It involved 3 days, a couple days in the classroom, but 3 days in airplanes. The first day was in a Sabreliner, which unbeknownst to me before I took the training was 3G capable and also capable of up to like 70 degrees, plus or minus 70 degrees of pitch. I might have that wrong, don't quote me on that, but a very high pitch attitude that was within the flight envelope of the airplane. So we went out and did pretty aggressive maneuvers in a business jet. But it was the second and third days that really put you in a different place. The company used an Italian trainer called an Impala, and you would put a helmet on your head, strap an ejection seat on your butt, and you would go out in the working area and you would do upright inverted spins. You would do very aggressive recoveries from attitudes that, like being almost inverted or, nearly so, and have to process what you saw, recover the airplane back to level flight. And they gave you a series of techniques on how to do that. It was very aggressive training. I loved it. I mean, being a fighter guy, being upside down with G on my butt again, felt like I was going home. Now, I liked the training so much that I was going to make it not just a one-time, but a recurrent thing in our training schedule. And I even helped this same company develop a high-performance, i.e. supersonic, upset recovery training program, because most business jets operate in the transonic regime, which is Mach 0.85 or above. Mach 0.75 or above, I think. But at Mach 0.85, I know we were in it. So I was quite the apostle of that sort of training, quite the believer in it. I was very passionate about it. But what I didn't take time to consider was that some of my pilots who had grown up in the business aviation world or the general aviation world might be uncomfortable with the idea of being upside down with G on their butt. They might be uncomfortable with having an oxygen mask strapped on their face and clamped down. And they might be uncomfortable with having sitting on an ejection seat. And rather than listen to their concerns, try to make them understand in a manner that was more collegial, more congenial, more collaborative, I pretty much rammed it down their throats. No, you're going to do this. Shut up, color. You all need this. We all need this to be better. Not understanding that anybody couldn't see the world the way I did. But my passion drove me to a very tunnel vision focus on this particular aspect of training. So in a sense, it was a bit destructive, and it kind of invoked what we saw in the deeper dive quotes a few slides ago. So passion is something that works inside your organization when you can make other people voluntarily feel your passion. It doesn't work so much when you try to ram it down their throats. Just saying. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Leadership Traits series. Really appreciate you listening to the video. If you'd like to make sure you don't miss any more, since I'm producing them somewhat irregularly these days, you can hit the subscribe button at the bottom of the page or press the little bell for notifications, and that way you'll be sure you never miss one. I also encourage you to buy the book, Business Aviation Leadership, From the Traits to the Trenches. You can get that on my Chris Broyhill Books website. All the proceeds from that go to the NBAA Leadership Conference Scholarship Funds. Everything stays with the industry, so it's a win-win for everybody. And plus, you'll hear stories about these different traits apart from mine that are very deep and very convicting and very useful, I think, in your business aviation leadership journey. Also, I'll take this time to make another shameless plug for the AirComp Calculator, which is the only online business aviation compensation analysis engine that exists in the world today. Scientifically generated compensation ranges at the average 50th, 75th, and 90th percentiles in seconds for a really teeny tiny price when you think about all the intellectual effort that went into it. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your week or weeks until the next video. Stay calm, stay safe, stay healthy, and tailwinds to all of you.